Hi, I'm Chloe Jaworski, and today I'll be giving you a presentation over Millard Fillmore. Many people, when mentioning Millard Fillmore, do not recognize him, but he made many important advances to shape the United States. Throughout this presentation, I will display how Millard Fillmore grew from his time on the farm to rising through multiple important political positions such as Senate and Vice President, all the way to his inauguration after Zachary Taylor's death. I will also tell you how he governed during his time in office and what he did after his presidency. First, his early life. Millard Fillmore grew up in the 1800s, living on his family farm in Cayuga, New York. He was born near the Finger Lakes of New York on January 7, 1800. He already had one sister, and his parents, Nathaniel and Phoebe Fillmore, would later have 6 more. Being the oldest boy, he spent a majority of his time out on the farm helping his father, since they were not wealthy. But his father later set him up for an apprenticeship to a clothmaker to help financially support his family. However, Millard was not satisfied with this, so he bought his freedom and moved up to New Hope to gain an education. It was still a very minimalist time, and Millard Fillmore attended a one-room schoolhouse where he met Abigail Powers. They fell in love and would later be married on February 5, 1826. They went on to have 2 children, Millard Powers Fillmore and Mary Abigail Fillmore. His rise to presidency. Millard Fillmore did finish out his schooling and got a job clerking for a judge. That inspired him to go into law, and so he took the bar exam, passed, and went on to open his own law practice in Buffalo. After some time at Millard's law firm, he became interested in politics. It started locally in 1828, and he ran for a seat on the New York State Assembly. After that, he ran for the U.S. Congress, where he served for 4 years, from 1837 to 1843, in the House of Representatives under the political party Anti-Mason. Later, though, he renounced from the Anti-Masons and joined a different political party, the Whigs. This, however, was not his last rise on his journey to presidency. Coming up on the 1848 presidential election, the Whigs' choice of representative was Zachary Taylor. The anti-slavery delegates thought that Zachary Taylor may end the Whig Party altogether, until a New York delegate, John Collier, brought Millard Fillmore into the mix. Having Millard Fillmore as vice president would establish relations between both slavery and anti-slavery delegates. In 1849, Zachary Taylor was elected, and Millard was there by his side as vice president. However, Zachary Taylor soon fell ill in his presidency of a bacterial infection that quickly killed him. This sudden death led to succession, which meant that Millard Fillmore was next in line to take over the presidency. Being only the second president to have this happen to him was a unique concept, and is Millard Fillmore's last rise up the chain to presidency. He is still only one of 5 presidents who this has happened to. During his presidency, Millard Fillmore was our 13th president, and even though Millard is not well known for his presidency, does not mean that he made no important advances. Millard Fillmore believed that instead of war or violence, a compromise should be made to control the South. The first of his important developments began during his presidency was the Compromise of 1850. The compromise was a bunch of bills that were passed that would make both the North and the South happy. In order to keep this peace, he had to sign many bills, a few of them being that California would be a free state, that they settled the boundaries of Texas, and that New Mexico got territorial status. Most important of them all being the Fugitive Slave Act. The Fugitive Slave Act allowed for the ability of capture and return runaway slaves within the United States. This act was extremely controversial. It gained tons of support throughout the South, but the North and abolitionists hated this act. And they hated Millard Fillmore too, although the only reason he passed the bill was to bring peace without force. He did what he thought was necessary at the time to keep order without military force, even though it would upset many. And although not as big of an endeavor as the compromise, Millard Fillmore also made history by creating the first permanent library in the White House. At the end of his presidency, Millard Fillmore did not gain another nomination for another term. And that leads us to his after presidency. After presidency, he went back to practice law in Buffalo. However, decided that he wanted to go back into politics and tried to run for another term as an anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant, know-nothing party. But he only had one state's votes and lost to Democrat James Buchanan. Then he retired and helped many charities of the time, but eventually died of a stroke in 1874.